So, for those of you that do not know, I am actually sitting here with some people who are very, very important to me. Actually, when we talk about love, I consider them to be my sounding boards when it comes to my love life as a single woman and just love and the concept of love and things of that nature. And I feel like in my life, they have been a strong source of love, unconditional, and individuals that I feel like I've been able to practice my love languages with. Even though I'm related to these people, these amazing people that are sitting here with me today, I do feel like in retrospect of my life, when I look at it, I've been able to really exercise my love, the healing journey that I'm on, and what type of love it takes to kind of bear that and deal with that and be open and honest and vulnerable. I get to practice that with these amazing people that I have today. So I would like to introduce you to my guest. I'm going to introduce them and then I'm going to let them introduce them as their politically correct selves, but I'm here today with my amazing aunt and uncle, my uncle Titus, and my beautiful aunt Tammy. Thank you guys for joining me today. Okay. So I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves, and then let's talk a little bit about like how you guys got together, right? Like how did this all start? So this is my uncle Titus, and this is my aunt by marriage, but honestly, like it's my aunt, like it's my girl. So I'm gonna let you guys talk about your love life a little bit. Introduce yourselves.
Well, my name is Titus Stewart, as it has been stated by Charmaine that I am her uncle, and yeah, that's who I am. My name.
He's so humble. My name is Tammy Stewart. I am Charmaine's aunt. I am his wife.
Hey.
Hey.
Of 23 years as of December 4th. Yeah.
That's right.
23 years. Okay, so if it's not like too much to ask, I'll do it like this. How old were you when you first started dating, and then how old were you guys when you got married? Like when you got married?
I think I was 29.
When you got married.
When I got married.
Right.
Okay. So I met my lovely wife at 27.
20. Yeah, sure.
27. That's the number that I feel that's correct.
Okay.
That we met, like, hey, what's your name? That type of met? Right.
No, when you were peeking me out.
Chubba.
Picking you out. Okay, let's really talk about it. So how did you guys how did y'all meet?
This is his version. Go ahead.
Yeah, how did y'all meet?
Well, we met in the church environment.
Okay, give me context. In the church environment, what was going on? What were you doing? What was she doing? Like, were y'all at a convention? Was it like summer camp? Like, I need details.
Come on, deeds.
Well, we were at, I wouldn't call it a convention, but we were at a church meeting.
Okay.
And part of my background is I am a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to this church meeting, and we call it council, where a lot of churches in the Texas area come together 3 times a year to fellowship. And at this particular meeting, my wife was leading praise and worship, and their praise team, I don't think their musician was available that night, so they asked me if I would accompany them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the organ playing. She was leading praise and worship. And I must admit, I was worshiping, because I am a worshiper.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So deep.
Because I'm a worshiper.
But out of my right eye, I was giving God the glory. Out of my left eye, I was wondering, who is this that God created?
Aww.
And I was very attracted to her. And so from there, I sought her out. I inquired of her, and I inquired of her to the wrong person. Because the person, the young man I inquired of, had no idea that he was interested in it. So he gave me some information that I took at that time to heart, but I still didn't let that stop me from pursuing her.
Oh,
You told the right version this time.
Okay, that was the correct version. From your perspective, how did all that go? Like him seeking you out when he approached you?
When he approached me, it was just like how I think you kind of introduced yourself, and I introduced myself, and I was not interested. Why?
You wasn't interested?
Let
Okay, let me hear
finish.
you. I'm sorry.
I was a mother at that time, and my son was, I think, like 1 or 2, somewhere in there. And I was not interested because at that point, I had decided that I was just going to be a mother to him and serve God with all my heart. So when he introduced himself, I wasn't interested as in a relationship. Hi, nice to meet you. That type of thing. And then later, he contacted me. I think maybe, was it that same night? He wanted me to be over the praise team. Yeah.
Okay. So you were just trying to find a reason and a way to like hang out with her and chill, basically.
No, I would honestly say that was a great part of why I wanted to speak with her.
But have you heard her sing at that time though?
When I asked her about being a praise team, well, yeah, I heard her sing at the at that meeting.
Okay.
She was leading praise and worship.
Oh.
So that's what also, she stood out, to me.
What was it about her that stood out exactly?
What stood out?
Yeah.
She had it going on.
I'm just kidding.
She said, "Come correct."
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
That same energy.
And she was very, amusing to the eye, and very. I didn't know anything about her, so I couldn't speak of her character. But as far as her appearance, she was the real deal.
Okay. So let's get into your love life though. Like, when did you guys start dating? Because I remember, and I found out on an episode that we did together that she came to meet the family very early on in your dating experience. So what was it like? What was the dating experience like? Now that we can have this conversation with you, that you brought her home like that. What was that? What was it about her once you started dating her that you were like, she's got to meet the family and spend the holiday with us?
Yeah, as I stated, I was very amused, and our conversations began to build.
What kind of conversations were you having?
Oh Lord, yes.
We were talking about,
I talk about the Lord. That's but I can't honestly say what we talked about. We talked about likes, dislikes, what are you interested in? And I'm sure she presented that same question back to me. What are your goals in life and things like that. So because in actuality, when I came on the scene, she was making plans, because she was living in Longview, Texas. She was making plans to move to Dallas. And she had some career goals that she wanted to pursue. And so we basically was just interviewing each other with a series of questions and things of that sort, and sharing our past and things that were good, the pros and the cons of our past. And so our conversations were very expensive, because back then when we were dating, long distance was $3 a minute.
You had to pay.
Yeah, no.
You had to pay, and so we
No.
we exhausted our free credits.
Yeah.
So to the point that they disconnected both of our phones. My phone got disconnected. I don't know.
I was working 2 jobs. I was paid for mine. I had a kid, but yeah, sometimes we would be on the phone. I would have to be at work at 8 o'clock, but I would get up at 6 o'clock to get the baby up and then take him to daycare or whatever. And we would I'm getting off of the phone to get ready for work,
Oh my
to
God.
take him to school. So we would be on the phone all night sometimes.
So at what point did you guys discover that love was, like, you were falling in love with each other?
I can't even remember. I know that it was the conversation. It was the conversation that drew me, because at first when he initially wanted to talk, well, the praise team, I was not. I think we maybe spoke briefly, but I was working 2 jobs and I was a mother, so I didn't entertain anything else when he would call. I didn't, if he called, I didn't have time to answer. So, but it was when I finally decided to have a conversation. That first conversation kind of got me, because we stayed on the phone for a while then.
Yeah.
And then we just continued to talk on the phone, and I fell in love with his spirit first. Yeah.
What about you?
I'm gonna say ditto. Our conversations were very rich. They were very intriguing, and so to the point that we both were sleepy, tired, but I think a few times we probably fell asleep
Oh yeah, I did.
on the phone in the middle of conversations. That anointing still lies on her even today.
Her falling asleep in the middle of her
Oh my
conversations?
God.
Really?
Oh my God.
Man, don't do that.
Yeah.
So, okay, tell me this. So, you guys have been married for how long?
23 years.
23 years. Is there ever a moment in your life now together that you miss the love and infatuation that you had for one another
Wow.
that you had then?
For sure. For sure. I think at some point couples become common with one another. And when you become acclimated to having what you have, then the joy of it can sometimes be diminished, faded, and it's something that you have to work at every day to make certain that what you had is what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of couples get in trouble. We don't work to keep it. One of the things he used to say often, I don't know if you remember this, we would never come off our honeymoon. So when we got married, that's what he would tell the saints of God. We gonna forever be on this honeymoon.
How about you? Do you ever miss that? Like, do you ever miss, is there any version of her that you miss? Is there any version of yourself that you miss with her? Is there the moments that, like, do you miss any of that? That intimacy that you guys had then?
Indeed. For me, it's learning to remember. And that's a challenge. It's a constant aim to remember, hey, you're married, and the person that you're married to, this is not a robot. This person requires time, and they desire you.
Mm-hmm.
And so having to learn to remember that, because it's easy. In my case, I'm involved in multiplicity of things, and they can sometimes serve as a distraction to the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so have not always mastered that.
Yeah.
And still trying to master that and perfect that.
Yeah.
So yes, I do. My wife has really taught me how to live, because I was the type of guy that going to a church convention was my vacation. But my wife has taught me how to. She taught me that there is a world outside of the world that I have and had become accustomed to operating in.
Yeah.
And I can say that I appreciate her for that.
I like that you brought that up, and I actually want to talk a little bit about that, because the reason why I really wanted you guys on in this series is because you guys have had different phases of life together. You guys have had a lot of phases of life together. In such a, it's crazy to think like 20 years is a long time, but it feels so short too. Because when you think of a person who's 20 years old, you're like, oh, you're still a baby, right? But then when you think of a marriage or a relationship matriculating over those years, you're like, oh, we didn't serve some time. And you really, it starts to kind of, you have to put life into like a concept, right? You have to conceptualize based off of years, months, hours, minutes that you spend with the person. So when you say like she taught you how to have balance, was there ever a time that you were frustrated with yourself at the fact that she had to teach you? Because sometimes your relationship is like a mirror to yourself. Did you ever find any frustration with yourself or even with her in the middle of that?
Oh yes, I would definitely say yes, because I often have shared with her, and I was not ashamed to share with others, that I didn't have the greatest teacher. I didn't have the greatest example.
What did you have? I know, but the people don't know. So what did you have? Like what your parents have been together for, you know, what did you have?
My father, who I love dearly, respect highly, he was my model. I'm fortunate to say that I was raised with my father, living in a home. So I saw how he interacted with my mother, and I saw the type of male factor he was in my life. And so my father's a hard worker. So to me, that's what a husband do. Mm-hmm. He works hard. My father, if we took a vacation, most likely it was to the conference. And that ended up turning to a church event. Right. So I became a replica of what was before me. And my brain, or should I say my mind, had become programmed to that. So I went into my marriage thinking this is how it's supposed to go. And when I had to unlearn and learn and still learning, because we are constantly forever evolving and changing. And so I had to learn her love language and had to watch the changes in her life and vice versa for her to me. Because things that I liked when I was in the first year of our marriage, I may not like that today. Yeah. But so for me, you know, I didn't read books on marriage. I didn't go to marital classes. I had my first premarital class when we got engaged.
So you had never had a focus on life and relationships, like in that aspect?
No. And see, and I brought a piece of me, should I say maybe a great portion of me into the marriage that I wished I had killed.
Wow.
Before I got married to her.
Can we talk about that just a little bit?
Well, I had to learn when I got married to my wife that I was no longer single. So having to be accountable, having to be responsive, I felt, you know, yeah, I'm married to you. I'm a grown man. I don't have to, you know, let you know when I'm coming back and where I'm going. But I had to find out, I had to discover that's not the case. When you get married, you're sharing each other's words, and that you should be accountable. It's not that I'm her parent or she's my parent, but that there is a respect that comes into the scope of marriage.
How did you feel though, because we talk about, and I love where you're going, but I want to talk about what did that feel like to have that acknowledgement that you're ready to make this vow to this person, or you've made this vow to this person to be this person, but you don't necessarily even have it inside of you to be that person to her. What does that feel like? What were you, as a man, what did that feel like?
Painful. Painful because to have to acknowledge and come from out of the mode of pretense and acknowledge and humble yourself to the facts, or to the fact that, hey, you know, I got a lot I need to learn,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and disregard my manliness and my arrogance and pride, and just really just say, hey, I need some help in being a husband.
Yeah.
And that's painful,
Mm-hmm.
because as a man, I'm sure other men that are possibly listening to this can honestly say that we don't easily admit we need help. Right? We hide behind our masculinity, we hide behind our status, we hide behind our titles and our positions, rather than just being a humbling lamb. And even asking our wives, teach me how to be the man that can reach and pull your potential, rather than disregard it and smother it.
Wow, that's good. Now, can I ask you, being the woman who, because you guys were in different spaces, you had a child already, so you were already in this independent survival mode, like, you know, I'm starting to establish this for myself. So not only are you trying to be concerned with your son, be concerned with your, you know, own well-being, but now you have a partner who's like, this is where I'm at vulnerably. This is who I am. You know, I don't have all the tools. But then you're also saying, well, I don't have all the tools either because I haven't been here before. What does that feel like? What kind of feeling or pressure did you have when it comes to what he's communicating to you and what you're feeling within yourself?
It wasn't, for men, sometimes the communication is different so it wasn't always verbal communication. A lot of the communication was, I think something is wrong. Because honestly, this is just how men, they're not just as open as we are. You know, just like he said, it was pride or whatever. So to feel what he's not saying and to hear what he's not saying was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It was confusing. And I didn't know how to change it.
Yeah.
So for me, because I did have Trenton, then here's his husband that I don't know how to be a wife. I never asked to be that,
Yeah.
but God knew, right? So now I'm trying to juggle. I'm in the middle, like I'm a middle child anyway.
Yeah.
So now I'm in the middle again, trying to make sure, try to figure out what's going on here, and then still try to be a mother to this child so he won't feel, I guess I won't call it friction because we were not arguing, sometimes. So to hide him from what's going on here, it became difficult at times.
So how much, like, we talk about you having to kind of be in the middle and then you having to be vulnerable with her while also still being the head of the household, still being the provider and being there for her and, you know, trying to lead the home. How much of love, how much did love play a part in the roles that you guys had to be in that early stage of your life? Was it love? Was it commitment? Was it we've chosen each other as survival partners, so we're going to do this? Like, how much did love play in that? And what type of love would you say? How much, if we can give your love like a 1 to 10, what level of love were you guys on at that time? Were we still floating off of infatuation?
Yeah, listen, my mind immediately went back to, I want a divorce. He said, we can just divorce. This was at the beginning. we can just divorce and just tell the people it didn't work.
How early on was this in your
Oh,
relationship?
about year 2, 1. No, year 1. Year 1, absolutely.
In year one?
Year 1. Year 1. Look at him.
You were ready to get a divorce already?
Was it year one?
We came out for the honeymoon. Yeah, because we were still in an apartment. And we stayed in an apartment for the first year. Yeah.
So what was that? Why were you ready to call it quits? Like,
Is that when you burnt my cake?
Probably.
okay,
Girl,
okay,
that's
let's
a
talk
long
about
story.
this. Okay.
We need therapy for that one.
Yeah. But no, like, I like this. So
But I think it was the adjustments because he likes what he likes. And what I've learned about him is anything that interrupts what he feels should be, or the picture that he has in his mind, if it doesn't exactly look like that picture, then to adjust or to rechannel the mind to say, okay, that's not like how I want it, but I can work with it. He wants what he wants, how he wants it. And the adjustment of a child, and this is no reflection against him, a child that's not, I've never been a father, I have another man's child here, and then trying to be I'm not gonna be able to do this.
yeah.
And he was ready to just like, forget it. You burnt, that cake was like it.
You were making him a cake and it was like
Okay, let me tell you right quick. Oh God. So he was making the mothers a cake.
The mothers of the church.
A box cake,
Okay.
Dunkin' Times. And I was still learning the oven at home. It was different. So I thought the stove was off.
Mm-hmm.
So when I took his cake out of the oven, I put it on top of the stove, thinking I was turning it off, but I actually turned the stove on.
Oh wow.
So I burned the bottom of his cake.
Wow.
So he was like, "You burned my cake." I mean, just rudely. I said, in my mind, it's just a cake.
It's just cake, ain't it serious?
He was ready for divorce court, judge.
But he was ready to cut it
Oh no,
off.
he was ready. No, he was ready, and I think that was just a different thing. Maybe that was just building up.
Yeah.
And that did it.
So again, in the beginning stages, what level of love were you guys at? What was love?
And so your question was it commitment?
Was it commitment?
I think
was it
mine was both.
okay?
Because my response to him at that time was, divorce is for cowards. It's for people who refuse to keep fighting. And right now, nice nasty, you've been weak. Come on now.
Yeah.
So love said to hold on, and then commitment and covenant said, you said it for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And so I think I was just holding on to both of those.
What about you? Where was love then? Was it infatuation? Were you actually in infatuation, or were you? What kind of love did you have for her at that time?
It was blind love.
Blind about her, blind about you, what?
Blind about the totality of marriage and what all entailed in marriage. Meaning, I had always said that I never marry a young lady with kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so in tune to her, knowing she had a kid, that I looked over all that and said, hey, I still want to be with her. Not knowing, when I say blind love, the adjustment of blended family. That was, and I think I could have managed it, but better in the beginning, but we had outside interferences that just added more, it compounded.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't sign up, of course, in marriage, you don't see everything that you're going to encounter, because when you're standing at the altar your mindset is on forever happy and forever after. But I found out that that is a good statement to make. But making the statement without the capacity to perform it,
Wow, that's good.
that's where the challenge comes in. And I didn't have the capacity to perform it.
Yeah.
I had to learn it.
Yeah.
And I had to bring in, I didn't know that this blind love would require patience. I didn't know it would require me growing up. I didn't know that it would require me not to be selfish and not just think of myself. Because as she stated, she was in the middle. She loved her son, she loves me, and it's like he and I were competing for her love. And it was an adjustment for him, because when we finally got married, he was of the age of 4. So for 4 years, it was him and his mother.
Yeah.
I'm a stranger
Yeah.
to him. You know, who is this guy, you know, hugged up on my mom, holding my mom's hand and what have you. And so, you know, we're in our private room, and this 4-year-old just walks in the room and don't say, "Excuse me." And there were times he came while we were communing with one another.
Extracurricular activities.
Yes.
God.
I had to go and tell him we were wrestling. It's all right. Because he showed asked, "Mama, what would Daddy do?" I was wrestling. I won.
We were we were having communion. That's what I call it, having communion. So for me, it was the adjustment was painful.
Yeah.
So that's why I call it blind love.
Yeah.
I knew I loved her, and I loved you know, his name is Trent.
Yeah.
And but to have to, but having to have to practice those vows that I made at the altar and before the many people that were there, it was beyond a challenge. It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because for someone who had been single all his life, I when I finally arrived at the place that I want to be married, what I envisioned, it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And so my mind I quickly went to, tell you what, let's just call it quits, and I'll just tell the people it didn't work.
Yeah.
But as she stated, that I think the air was sucked out of me, and the fight to even get in the ring was not there.
Yeah.
I had to grow out of things. And in marriage, you don't know your level of maturity until you get married. Because there are going to be things that you didn't know was coming that is going to test your love and test your commitment. But more than anything, you know, the preacher side of me is coming out.
Oh, I know.
That one of the things I said to her, we were combating so much. I asked her, what is it about us that if the devil ever realized what we're made of, what is it about us that's a threat to him?
Yeah.
That he recognizes, if we ever come together, if we ever become one, what is it that frightens him the most? That he says, I got to work to keep them segregated, separated, alienated, distanced. I got to keep them feuding, brawling. And I told her, you know, even from that time, you know, we didn't cease our disagreements. I think that we got a lot better because, and I have to admit, she was, if you, I don't know if this is your question, if it's going to come down the line, and I may be preempting you, that I tell people all the time, my wife, of course God, but my wife is a big reason why we're still married today.
I was going to actually ask, because you talked about capacity, having the capacity to not just love, but be in the position of marriage, being a partner, a lifelong partner to her, what part of your relationship over all this time, at what point did you realize, I actually have the capacity to keep going? I have the capacity to be here. I have the capacity to love her.
Are you talking at me first?
Both of you, but what you were talking, at what point could you say she was the reason you guys stood together? At what point did you realize, okay, I do actually have the capacity?
And even to this day, I realize that when God gave me Tammy, he broke the mold. I realized when I stopped looking at the flaws in the woman, and I started looking at the potential of the woman. And then I began to see her evolve right before my very eyes. And then to love Tammy is to know her heart.
What is it about her heart that you love?
She's
Look at her, tell her.
She took us to therapy.
No, I'm just saying, tell
she's
her.
unselfish. She's not selfish. She's forgiving, patient. She is giving. She's willing. She's a team player. She loves hard, and she's faithful. She is undefinable. She is she is a good person all the way around. And those qualities that I saw in you made me say, okay, this is who I'm supposed to be with.
At what point did you realize you had the capacity to love him? At what stage in your relationship?
I always did. I think at one point being the strong one she got tired. So I can't say, even with all you just said, that I'm perfect by any means, because in everyone that may have the strength to say that I can do this, at some point you become worn. And I think at one point I did. And I think I was just coexisting, right? And so the capacity came back, or coming back.
Guess she got a good man. Make sure you get that on the camera set.
So I didn't have a chance to say nothing because he.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you think about love, and we're going to talk more so romantically, what is love to you now? From then, and even just in this moment of reflecting with one another, what is love?
It is patient. It is kind. It is not puffed up. So you go to Corinthians, and literally we quote that, but to live that word, and it's man, I think I said this last time.
Yeah.
It's a choice you have to make every day.
What is love to you?
Everything she just.
What is love to you?
No, I don't want to try to compete with her answer. When I say it's everything, because I agree, it's patient. It's patience. But love also is understanding. It's understanding. And one of the things I had to learn is I married somebody who's not perfect. And once I realized that, then my perspectives began to come into view. Because sometimes we can have an expectation of a person, and when that expectation is not met, the love is crippled. it's not allowed to soar and to, because you don't believe that you can love, you know. When John 3:16 is there for a reason. For God so, that verb, so, it's an expression to the extent that I'll show you and I'll give I won't even give you my best, I give you my only.
Mm-hmm.
I give you my only. And so love never stops giving, even when it's hot, when it's cold, when it's difficult, when it's weird, when it's challenging. He keeps giving. And so if I am a replica of the one who created the thought of marriage, you see, what we're doing is it's a privilege for us to be able to be married, because marriage is an institution that belongs to God. And so when he allowed us in his institution, I had to find out, she had to find out, how does his institution operate?
Mm-hmm.
Because I came into marriage with ideas, but my idea clashed with the one who created marriage, who thought of marriage. And so, and that's where I'm at today. This, as far as knowledge, that wasn't him back then, because I didn't have this.
Yeah.
I wasn't exposed.
Yeah.
So once my understanding, and here's the deal, my understanding is constantly being polished.
Mm.
I'm not fully shined yet. I'm not as dross as I was. I'm understanding. Okay, still got some work to do, and I'll admit that.
Yeah.
But I will say that my understanding, it is more clear
Yeah.
than it has ever been before.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah,
5? Okay, cool. So I think we're wrapping. I like that. I like that you guys refer to love as patient, as kind. Me being your niece,
Mhm.
and you know I'm on my dating journey. I'm on my love journey. Not even just so me. What would be some advice, quick advice, that you could give someone who is on their love journey? Maybe someone who needs hope in love. Because I think what I see with my generation, and just people, when I say with my generation, I don't mean just like my age. I mean people who are single now in our current culture. There is a lot of fear in love. And so what would you do to kind of ease the fear for people when it comes to love in relationships and romantic bonding? What would be your advice?
The first thing that comes to my mind is watch what is guiding your love. Who's guiding it? You know, because until that is defined and discovered, then you could be guided into what you think is love the wrong way,
Mm-hmm.
to the wrong person,
Mm-hmm.
to the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that that's key. If I'm guiding myself, and I'm guiding myself looking for love, then it's easy for me to be susceptible to error and to open myself and to invite something into me that would take years for me to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
But if I allow God to guide me, because he knows how loves work. Love is an emotion that still requires guidance. And any love that would not be guided is a love that is going to be introduced
Mm-hmm.
to misery and pain.
Wow.
I would say that friendship is the foundation to anything. What I've learned in this generation, or not just for your generation, but in this era that we're in, that the loyalty and the commitment to the sanctity of love is not what it was. And I'm not for certain it's because of what we've seen from our parents that we would say, I'm not taking that. And we forego the friendship. I think to build a relationship first on that friendship, it helps you, because when you don't feel like loving, because as much as I said, what is love? Patient, kind. When I don't feel like being patient, I can look back and say, hey, I have this friendship that I can stand on. So if you can look at that friendship, one of the things that he said, and then I'm going to be done. And then while you're going, I think we all have our list of things that we want and desire. And of course, we will want the heartbeat of God for our lives. And when we see that that list is not fulfilled to our fullest, that nobody said that I didn't marry someone perfect. Exactly. You didn't marry someone perfect, and you're not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we go in with that idea, both of us are imperfect. But what is it the best thing about them that would say, hey, I can do this?
Yeah.
But friendship is the foundation. God, friendship is the foundation.
I love it. Thank you guys. I love you guys.
We love you, Charliy.
Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Guys, thank you for being here and enjoying this conversation with me. I feel lighter when it comes to the conversation of love, especially when you get to talk to couples who have been in it so long, and to just see that you can see where the friendship is. And so I love to see, because I'm on this journey of what is love, right? And romantically, I do believe friendship is the thing. And sometimes, now it's a big thing on 50-50. Everybody's 50-50 this. But when you talk to people who are actually in relationships and have been married, they're like, there's certain times it's going to be 30-70, 60-40, 20-80. And someone's going to have to believe in the relationship and in the love more than the other person is. So
Exactly.
thank you. Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of the conversation.
Yes. Okay.